What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Saturday. We have made it to the weekend once again, and we are moving on to a new position in our draft evaluation series. And this one, I think, is maybe the most interesting, not because I think it's our biggest need at this point, but because I feel like there is the best chance of need and value intersecting when the Seahawks pick, particularly in the first round, but I'd even go so far as to say second and third round. This is a pretty good cornerback class. And me saying that doesn't necessarily mean a lot because most cornerback classes these days are good because there are so many cornerbacks out there because teams run the spread. For the same reason, I think most wide receiver classes are good. But this is a pretty strong corner class, and there are guys that you can get at 32, maybe even like 38, 39, that I think are worthy of being first round picks. And some of the other positions, I don't know if that's true. So, cornerback, it is a need in my mind. Maybe not the biggest need because we did retain Josh Jobe, which was fantastic. It was great. But I do think that cornerback may be a spot where the Seahawks invest early. I know they supposedly like Noah Igbenogany and maybe they like Pritchett. I don't know, but they need to do more work there. They need to do more stuff there. And we got to take a look at these corners. And this first video is going to be about the first round picks, the projected first round corners. There are 3 of them right now, so that matches up pretty well. This first guy, this is the one guy that I don't think there's any way we can draft. It's pretty much unfathomable that Mansour Delane will be available at our pick. Monsour Delane is pretty much consensus cornerback 1 at this point, LSU. 22, I think he's gone in the first 15 picks all day, and if not, certainly by the 20th pick. He'd have to do something very bad over the next month or so in order to fall beyond that. Now, physically, I will say there are some warning signs. He's got decent height. He is a little bit lean, but he can add a little bit of weight if he needs to, so it's not the end of the world. The arms are a concern. He's got 30-inch arms, and he's also got small hands, but really it's the arms we're talking about here. This, I guess, could be the one thing that makes teams wary, but I feel like in recent times, teams have paid a little bit less attention to this stuff, and it's more likely that you'll get a chance to play outside corner in this league with shorter arms. So I'm not too worried about it. He also didn't do anything at the combine, so we don't have testing numbers. Every big board, however, puts him in the top 16. The Draft Network has him the lowest at 16. PFF has him in the top 10. The aggregate has him 11th. So he should be a top half of the first round guy. And the production over the last 2 years has been very good. 100 tackles, 6 picks, 18 passes defensed. The coverage numbers last year were insane. 35 targets, and he played pretty much the whole season, I believe. I don't think he missed time. 165 yards. His coverage numbers were off the wall last year, and the previous year, he gave up 570 yards. So, quite frankly, the improvement there, and I know it's not, you're not always best off just looking at end result, but still, 90.5 PFF grade. This guy had a spectacular 2025. Okay, so the pros with Delane are technique in press is good and sticky. So you put him in press, he's going to be able to use his feet and his arms and his hands to keep up. His click and close is fast and predictive. He's good at predicting when the ball's going to get there and getting there in time. He's a hard hitter, but he doesn't sacrifice tackling fundamentals to be a hard hitter. So he gives you the best of both worlds. He's shown the ability to play very well in man and very well in zone, so should be flexible across all defensive styles. He can track the ball. He can track the ball short, intermediate, and deep. So he's a good ball tracker. He can monitor the quarterback's eyes without getting distracted. So that's another very nice thing as well. He's somebody that can really keep up with both the traffic in front of him and try to read where the play is going. So really cool stuff there. Great prospect. Now, he doesn't really have a ton of pure speed. He's not a super speedy guy. So there are going to be receivers out there that stack him. And once he gets stacked, it's hard for him to catch up on the vert routes. Sometimes he does bite on eye candy. He's very confident in his reads, and he really wants to trust his reads so he can go make a play on the ball. But sometimes he gets tricked by misdirection. He doesn't have the cleanest hips. His hip flip is a little bit awkward. And he does play a little bit too physically, and he's going to draw penalties in the NFL if he can't curtail that. But the 2025 season was remarkable. He's got so much stuff you want. I think he's the clear cornerback one. Now, the arm length is going to give some people pause. I get it. I think he's going to get his chance to play outside in the NFL, and I think he's going to find a way to pull it off. So I'm clenched up a bit. I'm taking him in the top 10, though. He's too good. Okay, next guy, Jermod McCoy. And this guy, there is a pathway where the Seahawks have the opportunity to draft McCoy. So Tennessee Volunteer, 21 years old. Here's the thing. Jermod McCoy was probably going to be cornerback one in this draft. Everything was set up for him, and then he didn't play in 2025, not a single snap. He's got more size than, excuse me, more size than Delane. He's got more length, although he's not super lengthy or anything, but he's got longer arms than Delane. Bigger hands for whatever we care about that, I guess, but he's a bigger player. And I think his testing, not that he did testing either, and neither of them did, I think his testing is on a roughly equivalent level. And you can see some of the big boards have him at the same level as Delane. They pretty much all have him in the top 20. The Draft Network is the only big board that I use that didn't have him in the top 20. They had him actually outside the first round, which, I mean, that's not going to happen, obviously, I think. But here's the thing. Yes, the aggregate puts him at 15. But given that he missed the entire 2025 season, there is a scenario where nobody's willing to bite the bullet and take the risk because he's already had such a big injury in his career. Remember Will Johnson? Will Johnson was going to be a top 10 pick last year, and then he fell all the way to nearly the bottom of the second round. So there is a world where this player, very good prospect, I mean, look at his numbers in 2024, 50% completion, 386 yards on 62 targets, 9 passes defensed, 4 interceptions, 87 PFF grade, is there when the Seahawks pick. I think it's unlikely, but maybe the Will Johnson thing is a template. So, positives with McCoy. Should fit in on any type of defense. You want to play zone, you want to play man, you want to play press, you want to play off, you want to do all of it. McCoy can keep up. He's willing to throw his body around and help defend the run, not afraid of going through traffic, not afraid of working through blockers. He's got big-time ball skills, and he can take it away. So, plenty of ball production. He's got a very smooth hip flip. So, unlike even Delane, who I talked about a little bit, he doesn't have the greatest flipping of the hips. McCoy can really hit that. He's got a great click and close, very, very fast, very rapid, very cerebral. He's a very explosive mover. I know he didn't test, but he would have tested well. And he's cerebral. I think he reads the offense really well, knows the routes before they're run. So much stuff you want from a corner. Unfortunately, the injury red flag is a thing, and he missed the entire 2025 season. I think he missed a little bit of 2024 as well. So what are you going to do? Yeah, I mean, I would trust it, but not everybody else will. It doesn't seem like it's a permanent nagging chronic thing. It seems like just one big fluke injury. Now, another downside to his actual game, he doesn't have a ton of speed, kind of like Delane. Neither guy is super fast. And I do think there are some mistakes McCoy makes when it comes to handing off routes appropriately when he's in zone. So something to work on, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's 21 years old. He should have stuff to work on, but that would be one area where I feel like he's a little bit lacking. So this one's really hard to judge because he didn't play in 2025, but other than the injury, there's really not much bad you can say about McCoy. He's not a hard hitter, maybe. Doesn't really hit that hard, but he's a good tackler. So I would take him in the top 12. I think he's just a little too good of a prospect to let something like an ACL tear get to occupy too much of your thought. If you have the chance to take him outside the top 12, I think you have to do it. And if he somehow gets there at 32, I am not going to be able to resist. I don't think it's likely, but I would have said the same about Will Johnson. And Will Johnson was great for the Cardinals last year, by the way. All right, final guy for this video. The final projected first rounder is Avieon Terrell of Clemson. 21 as well. This guy's interesting because he did not test very well. And because of that, we have taken a player that I thought was a sure thing to be a top 20 pick, or at least top 25. Point is, he wasn't going to get to 32. Now I don't know. Now I'm wondering, what if the testing scares teams off? What if the measurements scare teams off and Terrell could be there at 32? I don't think it's impossible anymore. He's not even 5'11", 186 pounds. He doesn't really have the frame to add more weight. 31-inch arms aren't the end of the world, but they're not really what you're looking for from an outside corner. He's got tiny hands. And the only combine drill he did was the broad jump, which was mediocre. And given the fact that he's a smaller guy, maybe not even mediocre. So the combine was not great. All the big boards I use still have him in the first round, and the aggregate has him 22nd. He's put up good numbers the last couple years, if you take a look here. Like 2025, 9 passes defensed. I know he only had the, he didn't have any interceptions. 51 targets, 340 yards. Pretty good. 83.5 PFF. He is a phenomenally hard hitter, and he loves to force fumbles, by the way. Keep that in mind. Year before that, 58 tackles, a couple of picks, 12 passes defense. So there are ball skills. I know there aren't a ton of interceptions, but you got to remember, he's forced like 8 fumbles in his career. So he's finding ways to take the ball away. 68 targets, not even 400 yards, good coverage numbers, 82.3 PFF. So it's not quite as good as somebody like a Delane this last year, but it's very, very strong still. And when you factor in the forced fumbles, you've got something. So positives with Terrell. First of all, by the way, this is the brother of AJ Terrell of the Atlanta Falcons, for those of you wondering. Or maybe it was a cousin. I know they're related. But one nice thing about Terrell is that he has already played a lot of snaps at nickel in college. So if he cannot play outside in the NFL because he doesn't have the size, then he can slide inside, and you know he can do it. There's no mystery there. He's a big-time hitter, forces a lot of fumbles. He's got smooth hips. He flips the hips really well when he's transitioning. He's sticky in man coverage, really, really annoying in coverage. He's just always right on the receiver and really, really hard to break open, really hard to make a catch when he's hounding you. Good ball skills. I know only a handful of interceptions, but he does break up a lot of passes. He has better speed than either of the first 2 guys. So he can hang with vertical routes better than the first 2 guys we talked about. He's also a pretty good tackler. I know there are concerns about his size, but the effort is there, the willingness is there. Now, he didn't test great. Not that he did a ton of testing, but even on the size front, he did not live up to expectations. Maybe he won't be able to play outside in the NFL. That's a real concern. He does make some mistakes in zone. Sometimes he passes stuff off. Sometimes he gets distracted. I think he needs to become a more cerebral player in how he reads routes and reads offenses. But he's only 21, and he's not going to be a very good press corner. He's not going to be ultra versatile. And I don't know if that's going to get better. Maybe. So the testing may knock him down to where we pick at 32. If he does, I'm totally interested. I'm willing to take that shot. I think he's unique. I think he's special. There is some stuff that I think is legit to be concerned about. But overall, I look at Terrell and I see somebody that should be in the top 20, probably the back end of the top 20. But this is a draft where I can look past a few flaws and still think very highly of a player that brings a lot of good stuff to the table. So that is your first round slate of corners, those 3 guys. probably all first-round picks. They're projected as such. So later today, we'll get into some later round guys. See you guys later.